Hello, gamers. It's the final stretch. We're almost there. Every challenge is almost completed. All we've got to do is speedrun the last few crises and take on the unique bounty. And then Paul Bingus can finally rest on his laurels as the Giga Chad spacer that he is. But in order to do that, we're going to have to do a few things. First of all, we've got to make sure that this colony crisis meter actually ticks up fast enough that we can get through all of the crises in a reasonable amount of time. We've still got, well, we've got one AI inspection coming up soon, and then we've got another one after that, and then we've got to deal with both of these. If the crisis meter resets too low, that could take a while. So to speed things up, what I will be doing is colonizing in the remnant system here. Now, this does run the risk of us getting the remnant crisis where they try to sat bomb your world, which is not going to be an interesting crisis because it's a repeatable crisis. It happens infinitely, and all that you end up doing is fighting remnant fleets, which we've already done. So, what you do is before it hits 425 points on the meter, you abandon the colony. That way it removes them as a factor, and now you're never going to roll their crisis. You just use them to boost the meter up to that point. Now, this does mean that those 1,000 people you left on that colony, how are they getting out? Well, the game says they get out, although, if we're being realistic, yeah, they're probably dead. But 1,000 souls is a worthy sacrifice to save me a little bit of time. It's just the way that it is. I can also downgrade my high command to a military base. Going from 0.5 to 0.7 multiplier, that's a 40% increase in points per month. And it's not like I'm going to need that thing much longer. The game is almost over after all. Not to mention, even if I do want to re-upgrade it, it's only 150,000 credits. I think it's going to be fine, realistically speaking. So, there's a few things we've got to get through. First of all, it's about time I finally fill out the last bit of my fleet with this little guy. We've got a full, complete, high-tech fleet. Isn't that lovely? And I think I know what I'm going to do with you. Cryoflamers. Actually, Disintegrator might work here, because the Cryoflamers are quite good against shields and against hull. The Disintegrator would just give them that little bit of help against armor. That might not be so crazy. That being said, I do have to stick a mercenary instead of a Wait, hold on. I mean, damage control and missile spec are not exactly what I'm looking for, but everything else is pretty good. Timid? I mean, once again, I think I've said this before, but timid for a mercenary officer seems a bit like a contradiction. You're not going to pick the mercenary lifestyle if you're afraid of combat. I believe you can readjust that. It's going to cost more story points, though, but I do have a few of those lying around. So I think I'll be fine. Alright. No, you cannot. Are you kidding me? You actually can't adjust their personality at all. Do you know how useless that... You have... I got lucky enough to get a pretty decent skill set for this, but then you're... And a level 6 officer, which is nice. But timid. Really? Alright, this is ridiculous. Nonsense. I should just dismiss you outright. Although, to be honest, there is some utility in just having him around. I already spent the story point. Don't care about the credits. Just having extra officers in your fleet does come with the advantage that it increases your deployment points during battle. Not that that's a huge issue, because they're very good at capturing the points and reaching the maximum anyways. So, yeah, that's just cope, really. This is so sad. This is my first time using a mercenary officer, and I'm just finding out You can't adjust their personalities. Oh boy. That's great. Okay. Well, let's get this thing outfitted. There's a few obvious choices. Hardened subsystems. Hardened shields. Get extended shields. And is there anything else? I mean, that's pretty good. This gives it 360 coverage. You know, 3 points to reduce the shield flux by 150. That's very worth it. It kind of needs hardened subsystems because it has 120 seconds of peak performance and delicate machinery. So, yeah, it just needs it. There's not really any way around that. Hardened shield is obviously really good. And the interesting thing about the Hyperion is that because its flux stats are already really good, you know, you're capped at only putting 10 into well, with flux regulation it's 15, but still it's not that much compared to the baseline value. So you get a lot more value out of hull mods for the most part rather than the points here. But yeah, this is unfortunate. I guess I could put... Well, yeah, if I wanted an anti-armor weapon, a mining blaster would honestly make more sense than the disintegrator. Which does make it tempting to grab expanded magazines, but... I mean, looking at the sustained flux is already higher than the dissipation. And that's before you consider the burst capacity of these weapons. So... I don't think that's going to be a good idea. I think it's probably... If I've got 2 cryoflamers, it's probably not necessary. Although I am going to want some S mods on this thing. Rather than going for S mod bonuses, it's probably just best to get more points. Yeah. Do something like that. Then we can grab solar shielding to match everything else in the fleet. Hey, look at that. And even though I said that it's not as worth it, with flux stats like this, it's kind of important. Yeah, look at that. I mean, it's a frigate with over 10,000 flux capacity really easily. And that shield efficiency. Now the only problem is I've got to find a mercenary officer that can actually use it. And especially since the one that I just found, which I thought would be perfect, is actually timid. Honestly, the best way to do mercenary officers, well, I don't know if it's the best way, but one way to do them is to pick officer training here and then level up your officers to level 6 and then spec out of it and then have all your officers convert into mercenaries once they become over-leveled. Because then you have a ton of mercenary officers. Sure, their contracts are temporary, but you just have a ton of them all at once with the hand-picked skill sets. That's pretty useful. And then you can just go around grabbing regular officers. Granted, they probably won't reach the max level by the time you actually need them, or before the contracts on the mercenaries run out, but it's definitely something interesting you can do. I don't need to be lugging all of these around anymore. Let's not forget that. And we can sell all this, because that's not necessary. Fuel? Hey, hold on, I think I have extra fuel. Do I have extra fuel? Looks like the answer is no, I've already taken it. I don't need to completely fill it up. Let's go like that. Something like that. How do you perform without an officer? Please just do good. Please just do good. I know you don't have, like, energy weapon mastery, which would make a big difference for this ship. But just kill him. Yep, we're making an approach. Yep, we're fast enough. And we're backing off a little early. But that's just the way that the AI is. Okay. I think with an officer this will work really well. The extra stat boost will let it overcome the AI's natural timidness. Honestly, I'm tempted to stick on unstable injectors as well. The range debuff is just irrelevant. And the extra speed That's going to be pretty useful. Like that. Let's try to balance this out a bit. Exactly 10,000. That's a good number. That's a nice round number. And then hopefully we'll get a more aggressive officer who doesn't need to be commanded. But it is mercenaries, so it's a big roll of the dice. Who knows what'll happen? Anything could happen. Honestly, does it even need 2 cryoflamers? I don't think it needs a second cryoflamer. It looks like there's just no use for it, because it... Yeah, let's throw in like an ion pulsar. It's going to save a lot of ordnance points, save a lot of flux. And then it also gives us access to some EMP damage that we wouldn't otherwise have. I don't know why, but okay, this is something important to note. Auto-assign loves putting Mining Blaster and Ion Pulsar in the same category. But the AI actually uses them better if you don't do that. So, don't. That's my recommendation. Don't let it do that. It's interesting how it just doesn't seem to be using its system at all. The little phase teleporter, it's just not interested, I guess. Uh-huh. Yep, using the Ion Pulsar first and backing off. Yeah, we're gonna see some problems, aren't we? I think this is really going to be dependent on an officer. Hell, maybe I can throw in a missile here instead, like a Typhoon. So that the anti-armor isn't dependent on flux. But then I'm kind of hoping that the officer I find has missile specialization, which is kind of why. Kind of the downside to trying and relying on mercenary officers. Even if you do find the one with the right skill set, they might just have the wrong personality. And that sucks. Maybe I could try to build it so that doesn't rely on an officer, but... I mean, I've got Wolfpack Tactics. This is a Hyperion. I basically am required by law at that point to stick an officer in it. Well, we'll just figure that out once we find somebody. Okay, anything else I need to go over? I did kind of burn through a bunch of story points there. Don't have much left to put into the rest of the fleet. Although, I can put more story points. Their performance so far has been pretty good anyway, so I don't think that's really necessary. So before we go, how about we how about we get like Alpha Core administrators? How about we finally do that? Yeah, the problem with that is that organs, right, we need to make sure the organs are getting harvested. Surely nothing bad is happening with the Alpha Core there. Actually, we could swap this over to a Gamma Core and that should still, yeah, that should still be fine. Which means I can assign you. Well, I could actually hold on to you and just use you over here. Oh, but, right, it's Alderaan Stronghold. Of course I need to keep Alderaan in charge. I mean, that's just the rules. I don't make the rules. But I could stick this Alpha Core into Orbital Works or something. Or I could stick it into fuel production, which should then increase the Crisis Meter points from the Dictat, because now we're competing with them even more on fuel. Actually, I would like to get this place up to size 6 just so that I can have that. That's what I want. Just that I can actually have all 5 industries. That's one other thing I'd like to do if time permits in this video. Hell, maybe I'll end up just doing a 4-hour video to make sure I can fit everything. I'm going to need a lot of extra people because we're going to be burning through souls, baby. We're going to be burning through baby souls. Sacrificing them to the blood gods. Painted in sky blue. A bit ironic. Okay. Hiring crew. Everything looks good. Everything looks... I should probably carry these around. Yeah, let's carry those with us. And we'll hire... We'll just fill up our crew holds. Yeah, we're about 1,300 over our actual requirement. And you know what? I can drop these off. I'm not going to be using them. Fill it up with even more. There we go. Now I'm like 1,600 over my actual requirement. So I can easily afford to lose some in combat and to make a colony and then still have enough to actually man the fleet. That's perfect. All right. So, since the crisis has already been selected, I guess there's no real downside to just going and doing this immediately. Because it's not like it's going to spawn a remnant fleet or the remnant crisis. Let's just avoid you. Don't want to accidentally lower the points, since we're so close to the crisis spawning, as is. Alright, let's get down here. Ooh, I slowed down too soon. Getting the timing right on that is going to take some practice. You're going to have to actually use it a lot more. Now the beacon is overlapping. I see. Okay. What kind of rock do I want to colonize in here? Actually, it doesn't look like we have that many options. Yeah, we got this rock, and the not rock. Well, I should probably colonize the one that has the least hazard rating. Because that one's gonna... Well... I was going to say the least hazard rating because it'll cost me the less money while I'm doing this, but I don't want to go through all these fleets to do this. I think we're going to call you Victim. No particular reason, just, you know, off the top of my head, I thought that was, you know, Victim's Vacation Resort. That it's... Don't put too much thought into the meaning of this name, you know. It's just, you know, it just feels right. You know, it doesn't have any deeper meaning. Yep. I don't think we're going to be building anything here. We're just going to leave that. Yep. Now let's go check this out. Plus 20. Perfect. That's exactly what I want to see. And I believe Alderaan Stronghold, we can downgrade the High Command. As sad as that is. I know. Oh, you get 75% of the cost back anyways. So, really the cost there is not that much. I mean, let's do the math on that. 7,500. Yeah, 3,000 or 37,500 credits. That's what I'm losing here. And for the time being, it'll produce one less large patrol. Not the end of the world, although large patrols are pretty cool. It's cool to look at. Especially when they start stacking up capitals. Well, good luck, guys. Don't ever say I don't do the things for you. Yep, Remnant Pirates, Hegemony Pirates. Wait, does this one even have... Why does this one... Wait, do I have any AI cores at... Oh yeah, I do. I have one. In the Megaport, of course. Maximizing growth. Naturally. That makes sense. Okay, now if we look back at the crisis meter, it's back up from 0.5 to 0.7. So we're getting plus 59 a month. Excellent. Excellent. Actually, you know what? I could downgrade the military base to a patrol HQ, and then that would let me build the mining facility that I want, and then I'll upgrade it back to a military base when it grows in size. Because, to be honest, I'm more interested in getting all of the industry set up first, rather than the military stuff. Oh yeah, and now it's over. Uh, I should probably manage. I should probably manage this manually to try and get the stability bonus. But in order to do that, I'm gonna have to stop managing other colonies. Let's see. Yeah, of course. The classic. It was 4 out of 4, and transplutonic disruption. That's what we love to see. You just love to see it, don't you? Yeah, let's downgrade this. That'll speed up the crisis even further. That'll temporarily solve the stability problem. Although we still have food shortages and stuff, because it seems to be that the game is deliberately programmed in a way where you always do get some level of trade disruptions, because you get your food. Even though you get reduced maintenance costs from supplying things in factions, the trade fleets don't actually go to your faction. They go to the other factions. I think the part of the reason is because they want you to have trade disruptions every now and then. And they don't want, if they actually had them go from your colonies to your colonies for the trade fleets, that would mean that the best way to make your colonies would be to ones orbiting a gas giant. Because then the distance between them is always going to be super short and basically immune to disruption. And so the players would just always do that. And it's already good, because when you have 2 colonies orbiting a gas giant, their military bases defend each other. So it's already got a benefit to it. But then if it also basically made you immune to trade disruptions, it would be such a no-brainer that you would want to do it every time. So this, that's getting into the reasoning for why they designed it the way that they did. But it still is really weird when you've got like a food planet right next to this. Like, I've got a colony right next to this that produces food, and these people are starving because a trade disruption from the core worlds, which are like, 40 light years away, that got shot down. So it does look weird, even if the gameplay, I understand the reasoning there. Alright. Why did all the music stop? Alright, it's back. Okay. I guess we're fine. So we did that. Now we're up to... I see. That's right. I was up at like 15... What was I up at? Like 59? And now we're up to the max, 60. Excellent. Surely no disaster will arise from this poor management policy. Okay. Well, all we can really do for the crisis is wait. So now we're going to say hello to our little friend. Do I want to go that direction, or do I want to go... I mean, it's not that big of a difference. Okay. Any giants nearby? Actually, I would have to go up to use this. So let's do that. It's going to be more fun this way. I have no idea if it's more efficient. It's probably not. You know, that was probably faster than driving down here normally, so I stand by my decision, regardless of the cost. Okay, hopefully we can get that bounty soon. And at the same time, if we can go to the planet and just find the right mercenary officer, just be there, okay? The game has... I've manifested level 7 officers before. So let's just manifest the perfect mercenary officer. Please just... just work, Just do that. I invoke the law of attraction. That's not real. But I invoke it right now. I'm going to believe in it for this moment, so that it will work. And then I will go back to not believing in it because it's nonsense. Just give me the thing that I want this second. Do it right now. Do a flip. Hey, they're actually making me a small amount of money. That's cute. It's adorable, even. I have no idea how. But they are. Okay. Yeah, no, of course there's not a mercenary. There's not even a mercenary officer here. Got any work for me? Bounty docket. Let's see what 2 is. You want me to destroy the... Of course. Just destroy Kanta's den. No biggie. Uh-huh. And then this is... So this does look like a big fleet, but... Yeah, this is one of those mercenary fleets, isn't it? So it's not only does it have several capital ships and apparently 20 other ships, they're going to have like triple S mods and stuff. So hopefully that'll actually be interesting. I accept. Soon, we will have the true bounty. The true final boss of the sector. The one who really sectors my stars. The one who puts a twinkle in the eye of every captain who's ever defeated it. I've done this... I've actually only fought this once, just because you have to grind out... Like, I don't interact with... Right, I've also got to deal with this. Because I don't interact with the contact system. I really should do it more. But for the most part, I don't. And because of that, I don't usually end up doing the bounty. Because you need to grind out a lot of reputation with your contacts. Alright, what have you got? You know, it might have been wise to increase the spawn rate of mercenaries before doing this. But oh well. It is what it is. It'd really be like that sometimes. I mean, honestly, I don't know if it would actually be better with a timid officer with the completely raw... With the right, like, an officer with the right skills, but timid. Even with the timid personality, it might still be better than leaving it with no officer. Right, missile spec with the Typhoon. Energy weapon mastery is obviously going to be pretty good here. Gunnery implants, the elite bonus at least, is relevant for a frigate. And then combat endurance and field modulation. Yeah, damage control's not great, but everything else works here. So we'll just do that. You can... Alright, you'll get your chance. But I suspect I have to manually order you to kill pretty much everything. Alright, what do we got here? So, it's going to launch in 23 days. Yeah, unfortunately I don't have time to actually go grab that. So I'm going to have to just hang out, I guess. And we'll just do that. We'll just sit here. Yeah, nobody knows it's us. We're just going to sit right here. So there's a new blog post from the developer, Alex, talking about what he's working on right now. And he's done a lot of work with the simulator. I am very excited for these changes because you're actually going to be able to... Well, there's sort of like, you have like the current simulator template is basically when you open it up and it just has like a few default ships that you can fight. That's still going to be there, but then you're going to have like a button to click to open up advanced options where you can basically take factions and ships that you fought before and then build a fleet out of those. Or you can have it say like, I want pirates with lots of S mods and 240 deployment points, generate a fleet for me. And then it'll do that, and then you can just fight that in The Sims. Right? You can adjust their aggression level, you can adjust the quality of their ships. They're even going to have officers in The Sim, AI cores. There's so many options. But if you don't want to look at any of that, you can just close the advanced options, and you're going to have something that basically looks like the current system. So that's really cool. Another 12 days. In other news... ground defenses are finished. In other news, he's also updating the Java version from Java 7 to Java 17, which should come with some nice performance improvements, which I think that I'm starting to need. Because with a lot of mods, the game, and by the late game with a lot of mods, the game can definitely stutter. Even though the frame rate stays high, the game can definitely stutter. So I may end up, as I start adding more mods into future playthroughs, I may end up reducing the sector size in order to try and keep performance up. And I'm really hoping that update comes out soon, to be honest, because I want to be able to have good performance before starting the next playthrough. But we will see. We will have to see. Alright, 8 days. So, the next month, on like the 4th or 5th. Domain error probe. Yeah, of course. Just get that out of my feed. Get that random exploration mission out of my feed. It's way too late for that. Fraud, Gemini. And that's when the spacer... Wait, hold on. How would I do... How would I do the template of that whole stupid-ass joke? And then the spacer, the strongest of... And then the player, the strongest of the spacers, looked at the hegemony and said, "Stand proud. You can inspect." The high hegemon started crying. What is this? Yes. This is truly one of the sectoring moments of all time. Stand proud. You can inspect. The AI inspector started tears pouring from his eyes. Alright, you guys should pop out of this system soon, right? Yeah? Yeah, you should run. Get out of here. Go. Those are mercantile convoys. Uh-huh. It's traveling. There it is. Still got a few D-mods, but it's a much bigger size than the first one. Oh, and they've got 2. And of course they're hunting down pirates, naturally. Alright, well, inspection fleets, say hello. Say hello to your doom. Alright, we'll just do that. We'll do a little of that. Bada bing. Bada boom. Actually, you can go to one of the capture points too. Okay. Nope, that doesn't let me do it. I'm probably also going to want to do very different skill selection. Well, maybe not very different, but at least a little bit different skill selection for the next one. Speaking of the next run, I am going to do midline. I'm not going to be doing... At least I'm going to be aiming for midline, but since there's going to be a bunch of mods, including a bunch of stuff I'm not familiar with, if I find cool mod stuff, then I'm going to include that in the fleet. Even though the backbone of the fleet is going to be midline. I do already know of a few overpowered options in some of the mods. Probably not intentionally overpowered. Because there definitely are some mods where it's like, oh hey, the semi-brief. I wonder how this was balanced. Oh, that's right, it wasn't, and it was never meant to be. So there are some things like that where it's just, yeah, of course it was never meant to be balanced. I mean, just look at it. It's just there for fun, really. But there are some items that probably weren't intended to be as strong as they are. I specifically think of Scalar Tech, the Dessous Assault Fighter. It's like a single super fighter for 16 ordnance points. He's ridiculously strong. I mean, just a few of those can... They can basically kill cruisers by themselves if you get like 3 of them on the same ship. It's, yeah, they're pretty crazy. So maybe I probably won't rely on that for endgame, because that would be kind of cheap. But I will at least show them off a little bit so that you can see why they're so strong. Alright, let's try not to die. That would be good. Dying is usually bad. Under most circumstances, dying is considered suboptimal. Come on. me just get rid of the little guy. Put him out of his misery. It's kind of interesting how some of the, well, I guess all of the midline frigates are designed. Because midline's doctrine is supposed to be... They're supposed to be like the poster boys of the cruiser doctrine that in the lore was sort of coming up at the end of the domain. Right around the end of the domain. But didn't quite take hold. And so that's, right, they were, right, the hegemony is sort of basing their doctrine off of the more capital-heavy doctrine that was sort of falling out of favor. But the cruiser doctrine was coming up, which is where midline mostly gets their designs. And so because of that, their frigates aren't really attack frigates in the same way that the high-tech and low-tech tend to be more, well, attack frigates. Instead, their frigate designs are more designed to support cruisers. And you can see that with the Monitor being a... right, the Monitor's the shield tank, that's obvious. But then the Centurion's kind of a counterpart to the Monitor in that it's the armor tank. Right, it's got really good armor for a frigate, and it has damper field. So you've got a shield tank, you've got an armor tank, and then you've got the Vigilance, which... I mean, it's the Vigilance. That thing is not going around at high... like, it's got a slow speed for a frigate at 110, when the baseline is kind of 120. And then it's got that medium missile slot with fast missile racks. Yeah, that's clearly there to support. What is going on right now? Oh. Yeah, maybe let's get out of here. Let's skedaddle. Alright, it's clearly meant to support, like, the cruisers, because when the Vigilance was designed, the midline cruisers were like... the Champion didn't really exist yet, so the midline cruisers are the Falcon and the Eagle, which don't have much missile firepower. So you're kind of supposed to send in the Vigilance to support them, because it's got bright missile firepower. And its weapon loadout isn't really designed for 1v1ing other frigates. It's more, hey, I bring a big missile for just 5 DP and I can spam it. It's kind of there to supplement the light missile firepower of the mainline midline cruisers. Which does kind of cause some problems if you're trying to do a pure midline fleet. I mean, you can always solve that with safety overrides, which I'm not going to do, of course. I ain't going to use safety overrides. That's cheating. Well, it's not cheating. It's just not as interesting. It's kind of like fighter spam. Safety overrides and fighter spam kind of exist in a space where it's like... I mean, it's kind of fun the first time you see it. But it gets boring really quick, just because they feel very samey. Even if you build different fleets using the same... like, if you build different safety override fleets, it's like, yeah, you're using different ships, but they end up feeling kind of samey. In a way that building more mixed fleets just doesn't. Right, this fleet feels very different from, say, long-range cruiser spam. If I were to spam a bunch of champions with squalls and high-intensity lasers, that feels very different from this. Right, they end up forming like long battle lines where they're just pelting the enemy from long range in unison. It's not the same as what this is doing. We got the overload, very nice. Of course I'm going to pursue him. What did you think? Let's take all of that. Thank you very much. Wait, really? There's a second inspection fleet. Is it actually failed? After just defeating the one? Yeah, it looks like they give up already. Well, I'll be. Yep, I guess it's time to go do this then. But yeah, so if I'm not going to be using safety overrides, then I think for midline frigates, a good way to make up for that would be the new electronic warfare skill. In my testing with a variety of different frigates, is that even if your frigates can't really hold the points very well, if you have electronic warfare, it kind of doesn't matter. Like, the extra range and capture speed makes this skill just so you're just so much more reliable at capturing the points that even though the midline frigates aren't really designed for that, they can still pull it off. So, yeah, a pure midline fleet with no safety overrides, I would absolutely want electronic warfare. For that reason. Now let's get over there. Low tech kind of doesn't actually have that issue, interestingly enough. I think both the Vanguard and the Lasher are fine. As long as you put officers in them, they can do that. Or you, with support doctrine maybe as well. I haven't tested that though. Because using support doctrine to boost frigates is kind of a waste unless you're going all in on that. Like, you can definitely do like 20 frigates with support doctrine, but it's just not really what it's for. Like, the problem with that is eventually you hit the, like, if you could do that with like 100 ships, then maybe, like, if you bring like 100 kites, then maybe support doctrine for that would actually be a good idea. The problem you run into is that you actually have a fleet limit at 30 ships, and going over that is a bad idea. So, with that in mind, it doesn't really make much sense. The best way to use frigates, especially like coordinate maneuvers and Wolfpack tactics, require you to put officers into your frigates to get the benefits. So, really what you want to do with support doctrine is you want to bring a bunch of frigates, put officers into them, right? Because, like, I mean, Wolfpack tactics, because it benefits your frigates with officers, that kind of incentivizes you to put all of your officers into frigates. Or at least that's how you get the most value out of the skill. The problem then is, well, what do you fill the rest of your fleet with? A bunch of cruisers and capitals with no officers? Well, that's not great. So what you do is instead you take support doctrine, and now your cruisers and capitals get a big deployment point reduction at minus 20%. So, like, a champion goes from being 25 deployment points to just 20, and then it gets 4 skills. You know, maybe not as good as with an officer, but it's also cheaper than with an officer. Whereas if you take those frigates and you rip out the officer, what are you left with? Well, you save like 1 deployment point. Like, for example, Omens. If I grab a support doctrine, I take the officer out, I save exactly 1 deployment point. And I get a big nerf to the Omen because it loses field modulation, it loses target analysis, it loses systems expertise. I mean, it does get to keep helmsmanship and combat endurance because those are part of support doctrine, but those are, while those are good, those are kind of less important than the other 3 skills for the Omen's performance. And then you also miss out on Wolfpack tactics, which is pretty important. So you save 1 deployment point, and at the cost of massively nerfing your frigates, which is why even if you have support doctrine, it's still pretty worth it to put officers into frigates. But for cruisers, I mean, you're saving 5 deployment points for a champion, and it's still getting 4 pretty decent skills. Actually, what might be best is the Pirate Eradicator, because with the minus 20%, it has to round to a whole number for deployment points. So at 18 deployment points, that ends up rounding down to 14. A Pirate Eradicator for 14 deployment points is pretty good. I mean, it's still, right, and it's a low-tech ship, so it actually gets pretty good use out of damage control. Right, helmsmanship is already really good on basically every cruiser. Ordnance expertise is, I mean, it's a low-tech ship, so it needs all the flux it can get. Combat endurance is good on basically everything, and then it's, again, a low-tech ship with good hull points, so damage control, pretty good. Getting that for 4, so it's not quite as good as with an officer, but you're getting it for 14 deployment points. You can spam those. Actually, supporting them with Omens is kind of a perfect combination, because the ship, the Eradicators would be 14, and then the Omen would be 6, so put them together, that's 20. And it'd be very easy to do the math to fill out your fleet, right? If you grab Officer Management, that gives you 10 Omens with officers, plus 10 Eradicators with no officers. That right there gives you 200 deployment points. You get 10 Omens, 10 Eradicators, and then you've got 40 deployment points left for a capital ship. Well, really kind of 50 because you can deploy it first, and then transfer into it afterwards. So you save the points. Now, do you guys mind showing up? I got a little... Nope, that ain't it. I'll take it, though. But of course, I think if you don't have officers, they are going to be weaker. So in order to kind of make up for that, you do have to kind of spec into long-range builds. There's basically no other way. Because with long-range builds, then instead of relying on their power in a 1v1, which is going to be lackluster due to the lack of an officer, you're instead relying on the combined power of multiple ships converging their firing arcs. Which the whole point of support doctrine is that you can deploy more ships. So that's playing into the strength of the skill rather than playing into its weakness. So you kind of support doctrine does kind of incidentally push you into that long-range strategy. Which is why it does kind of feel weaker than the other skills. Like, it's definitely viable, especially in the early game when you don't have your officers yet. That's when it's most viable. But in the late game, it's still viable. It's just not quite as good. Wait, have I still not captured this point? How's that possible? Oh, they probably rushed down and they have the electronic warfare skill, that's right. Right, I was talking about how it kind of it kind of like incidentally pushes you into that strategy. Right, and if support doctrine needs a buff, because it's a little bit weaker than the other options, then I think one way of doing that would be to give it a 5th skill, gunnery implants. Which is again, just like the other skills. The whole point is that the skills picked out for it are kind of generic and good on a lot of things. Yeah, they managed to capture my own point up from... This is how good electronic warfare is. It's a pretty good one. I like it. The whole point of the skill selection is that they're kind of generic and good on anything, but I think which gunnery implants more or less fits that bill. But then it also has the upside that for the strategy that support doctrine naturally tends towards of long-range builds, well, I mean, gunnery implants is perfect for that. It just increases your range, right? So that'd be a nice way to give a little bit of a buff to at least for the long-range builds that aren't just spamming squalls, because that used to be the way to do it. I found, especially with like the apogees when they were 18 deployment points, you could just spam a bunch of those with support doctrine. And the pre-nerf squall, I mean, it was kind of ridiculous. Having like 10 of those on the field, along with a bunch of omens. I would say that was about as strong as other options. But then, of course, the reason that it was strong was not because support doctrine was good. The reason it was strong was because the squall was really good. And that the apogee was a little bit underpriced at the time. At least for what it's capable in the late game. The apogee definitely struggles in the early game. But once you get a wall of 10 of them, with long-range builds, suddenly the apogee starts to look like a menace. Howdy. Don't mind me, just driving by. You know, seeing the sights and all that. There we go. Oh, you've got a Fury too. That's so cool. Mine's better. Alright, you're here. Paragon dead. Very cool. My Paragon was better, of course. Alright, both of these are, of course, on cooldown. Speaking of which, there are some Because a lot of AI discussion, like balance and tweak discussions, focus on, players saying, like, hey, this situation, the AI did this thing that didn't make sense. Can you change that? And then Alex being like, yeah, I see on this specific situation that makes sense, but if I made that tweak, then in like 10 other situations it would cause issues. And so there's a lot of, getting the AI just right, so that you have this AI that you can plug into any ship, including mod ships, by the way, because, like, unless you expect modders to also write their own ship AI, the generic AI that the game uses for ship combat has to work with whatever mod ships get plugged in. And getting that sort of generic ability to pilot anything that you plug it into right, regardless of loadout, that's kind of difficult, if not impossible. But one thing that I think could make it easier is if the player had the ability to... I think this is over. Is if the player had more control, right? Especially with missiles are a perfect example of this, because it's like, well, some people sometimes want it to use more missiles, sometimes people complain that the AI uses its missiles too much when it doesn't make sense. Well, an easy way to do it would be to have some system where you can individually set your ships and say, this ship needs to use its missiles more often, and then having tools to do that on the player's end would make that a lot less frustrating, because if you set it and say, hey, use your missiles more often, and then it wastes them, well, you're not going to be mad at the game. You're going to be like, well, I guess that's my fault for setting it to do that. Of course, the problem is that gets pretty complicated. You should be able to handle that. I guess not. Never mind. You were not able to do that. And look at that, 6 story points. That's cool. So my idea for the whole AI thing, at least for how that could look and work after being implemented. Alright, Colony Crisis, what are we at? Yeah, we're making some progress. My idea for that would be, so imagine it's kind of like adding hull mods to the ship, rather than having like a bunch of sliders and stuff, which there are other games that kind of let you tweak around with the AI for your ships. But the problem is a lot of them have like a bunch of sliders and like radius for like engaging certain types of targets, and then weights. But all of that gets really complicated and kind of hard to know exactly what you should be doing with it. So my idea would instead be that you just have pre-programmed like behaviors, and that get plugged in kind of like hull mods. Alright, colony growth, excellent. So you've got, yes, you do have Luddic majority, plus 20 population growth. And the bonus is doubled, so it's actually plus 40. So you should grow very quickly. Let's get some light industry. Yeah. So imagine like hull mods, right? Right, you don't have like a slider where you can put more ordnance points into boosting your armor. No, there's nothing like that. Instead, you just have a hull mod that gives you heavy armor. And I would think the same thing with AI adjustments. It would be a different interface, of course. Like you might have like a button in the corner down here in the bottom right that you could click on where it's like you can have a bunch of pre-programmed behaviors like be less conservative with missiles, or be more conservative with missiles, or avoid ships larger than yourself, or engage ships larger than yourself. You know, a bunch of different things to sort of adjust the AI behavior. And that would just come in, and you would just sort of like picking out from a menu. You would pick out the behaviors you want. Now the problem with this is it would be very, I mean, the early game is already pretty overwhelming for new players. There's so much information to take in. Not everything is very well explained by the tutorials. So I would think that what you would do with this system is you would actually gate it behind colonies, right? You don't actually unlock it until you get a colony. And then what you can actually do even further than that is that when you get a colony, you only unlock really simple behaviors that you could plug into the AI. And that as you get like a military command and then a high command, like you get your military base first, then you unlock more behaviors, and then you get a high command, and then you unlock even more behaviors. Sort of like the idea that as your military apparatus gets more sophisticated, then the training you can apply to your own fleet gets more sophisticated. So that thematically makes sense in universe, and gates a lot of the more complicated stuff behind later game content, so that it's not immediately overwhelming to new players. I know, it's a great idea. It would be a real problem trying to implement that, but I think it's a good idea. And imagine how much time you would have to spend, because, I mean, the simulator already takes up a lot of people's time as is. But then, now the simulator's getting upgraded, so you actually have more comprehensive tests you can do. So it's going to take up even more people's time because it's more useful. And then you add in the extra dimension of adjusting AI behaviors on top of adjusting the loadouts, and people will... You could end up in a universe where people just play the game in the simulator and don't actually play the rest of the game, really. You could end up in a universe like that, which would be funny. I mean, most people would, of course, play the game, but I'm sure some people are going to get lost in the simulator once this new update comes out. It looks really good. Okay, so I do have 6 story points. Do you guys have a merc? Yes, you do. Depends what can you do. Steady, that's an improvement. You do have a janky skill set. See, the thing is, I could give you a ballistic weapon in the universal slot, but then I'm missing it on the missile weapon. So this is real weird. But it's, you know, you're actually going to fight, so I'll take you. You are actually going to do stuff. Not like the timid officer. There we go. Timid, you can go here. There you go. Just sit pretty in there. Yeah, you don't even have combat endurance, which is really important for this ship. Gets it up to 300 seconds, so 5 minutes of peak performance. And then even after, and then once it runs out, it's got delicate machinery too, but I mean, so be it. So be it. That is what it is. The next thing I'm going to do, I've already got high resolution sensors. Now we can go flux coil adjunct and get more vents. So that's just a straight improvement of flux stats, right? 200 more capacity, 40 more dissipation. All that really leaves is ECCM package, but the SWAT bonus isn't too important, so instead, what I'm going to be looking at is the elite skills on my officers, because I can definitely grab more. See, what do you guys have? You've got 2, 1, 1, 1, 1, and then you guys have 0. So that's a bunch of more story points I could be spending. Okay. Man, we're going to talk to you. Yeah. Do any work for me? Bounty. 2. Uh-huh. Yup, that's 800,000. That's going to be a full Alpha Core fleet. It doesn't even have any Radiant, so it's risk of dying pretty low. What's the more challenging target then? Slightly more expensive. Ah, it's also a Remnant fleet, but this one has a Radiant. I mean, it is kind of fun watching the Paragons bully the Radiant. But the difference in price is so low that I might as well just go with the one that's closer and safer. Yeah. And that should bring us up to a reputation of 100. And then soon we should actually get the Giga Bounty. The final boss. The big cojones. Alright. I'm going to look for... So actually... Let's see. Orange Giant. Yes, so I can use that. Actually, honestly, having this on will probably make fleets avoid me for the most part. Zoom. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, there's not really much else to do with this. That adds up to 70, 84 times 0.9. It's still like 70. Yeah, I could upgrade that back, and it would still be about 59, wasn't it? Yeah, so refining, that's finished. Why is this... Oh, right. Yeah. It's going to be 8 out of 9. That's right. Of course. So I actually need to either wait for it to grow to the next size, which could take a while, or I need to spend story points here. But once I do that, then it will meet its own transplutonic demands domestically. And so this extra industry slot will actually be very stable and very available, which I would then use to get mining, so that I have transplutonics that are feeding into the refinery, so then that cannot be disrupted by trade disruptions, which means that it's extremely stable and completely impossible to disrupt unless they attack the planet itself and disrupt the industries, which obviously I'm not going to allow that to happen. As a matter of fact, let's get a planetary shield going while I'm talking about it. And then, of course, the extra industry slot can then be used to upgrade this back into a high command, which will then have all of its needs met domestically. Because we've got fuel production, we got mining will provide all the raw resources for both the refinery and the fuel production. The refinery provides the resources to Orbital Works, and then Orbital Works plus fuel production provides everything you need for a military base and a high command. Completely self-sufficient military base. It is impossible to disrupt. It is undisruptible. You know, assuming I actually wait that long. I don't think it should take that long to get through all the crisis, though. Well, that's lovely. What have you got here? Mm-hmm. A beta core. Yup. And some blueprints. It's alright. Of course, the most exciting thing is when you get colony items, but I've already got plenty of those as is, so I guess I can't complain. Alright, let's go looking for a fleet. It's quiet. Too quiet. Captain's log. I should probably think of... Actually, that would be a good running joke, just... Captain's log. This is Captain Paul Bingus. We've been searching the nebula for a whole 5 minutes, and the enemy hasn't shown up yet. I'm starting to wonder if my reputation has preceded me. It seems that even the artificial intelligences, the abominable beings, the creations against Lud, or so I'm told, it seems that even they have learned to fear me despite their reputation for being so fearless. Rightfully so. I am the greatest captain to have ever lived in this sector. And by God and radiation, if the machine doesn't fear me now, I'll make sure that it does. I don't know, something like that. That's probably the way Paul Bingus talks. Now, if I could just do a spot-on Zap Brannigan impression, that would be perfect. I don't think I... Well, maybe if I practiced it, I could. That might be worth doing. That would be pretty great. I could actually... It'd be even worse if I doubled down and added a Zap Brannigan portrait and then played with that. This is Captain Paul Brannigan, reporting in. Captain's log. She's built like a steakhouse, but she handles like a bistro. Alright, this is a lot of nebula. That's all that cloud's for. Is it gonna rain? Alright, please be at the jump point. There you are. They always end up at the jump point, don't they? They're just... It's just that simple. Yeah, now I'm getting less bonus XP for these fights because I have mercenary officers in my fleet, and the more officers you have and the higher levels that they are, counts against your bonus XP. Which is kind of one of the advantages of support doctrine. You can... But only if you don't actually have any officers at all in your fleet. Only if you do that. If you have officers in your frigates, the way that I was saying is optimal, at least for combat performance, then it's not going to matter. It ends up not mattering. So if you're optimizing for bonus XP versus actual performance, you end up optimizing for different things. But optimizing for bonus XP is for nerds. If you want bonus XP, then earn it by fighting for it. By fighting more stuff. And if you're going to fight more stuff, make your fleet stronger, damn it. Alright, so we want you and you to be, yeah, search and destroy. Now we just gotta bait. Alright, let's, hopefully that doesn't end up, nah, it's not gonna kill anything. Yeah, I don't have enough charges left, I can't actually flank that. But I can accidentally get you to turn the wrong way and just get blasted. That's pretty nice. Yeah, and then that gets shut off by the reality disruptor. Oh, come on. There we go. Now let's get out of here. Come on now. Yeah, there you go. There you go. That's right, chase me. Follow this tail. That's a good idea. I'm sure it won't backfire. Surely this won't backfire. Diving straight at a Paragon. Ah, that little lumen is actually tanking the whole reality disruptor. Saving it from getting completely disabled. Alright, that's a lot of soft flux. Let's get out of here. Alright, you want to do it again? You want to jump forward again? Are you come on, I know you want to. Alright, so we got a bunch of those coming in. That's a lot of scintillas. Oh, it's 5. It's a pretty significant proportion of the fleet. We may get good mileage out of just hunting those manually. Yep, that's right. Turn towards me. Ignore the Paragon. Ooh, there is no Paragon. You are totally safe. Okay, yeah, we're starting to see the flight of the scintillas coming in. Is that an overload? And you're in and the AI's in a prime position to take advantage of it? And yes. That's what I like to see. Now, it would be nice if you'd fire your attack lance into the side. Go on. There you go. Alright, now we can hunt these things. Easy prey. Coming in like a ham hock. Bro must have amnesia. They forgot that I'm him. Your help. Now, Omen, I kind of need. Well, I mean, I guess I overloaded him, so I guess I don't need your help. But I mean, I really would rather not 1v1 these things, to be honest. Yeah, if I didn't get the overload on the first one, then I'm not going to finish it off in time. So just vent. Take you out. Alright, let's fire this. There we go. Yep. Simple as. Yes, sir. Let's hunt some more of these things. Let's just ignore the cruisers. They're not going to be a threat. Oh, is that going to hit? Thank you. Very well done. Now let's try not to die. Yeah, there's not much left. We're just cleaning up at this point. Move all of these. Alright, you distract him. I'll go behind him. Or maybe the other way around. Depends on what the AI chooses to do. Oh, that was 3 Reapers right into that shield. Yeah, it's just a few scintillas. Ain't nothing much. This is why we need that unique bounty, because even the remnants are just getting tossed around. Although, to be fair, they'd get tossed around a little less if I was fighting more Ordos at once. And this fleet could do triple Ordos for sure. I would eventually run out of Typhoons on these things, but I'd still be fine. Especially with the mini pulsar treatment. Being less reliant on ammo. Yeah, there we go. Let's grab all of that. Excellent. Excellent, excellent. We're nearly there. Actually, is there a gate nearby that I... No, it's over there. Yeah, this is fine. I'll just take the slipstream, or... Yeah, I'll slipstream and then slingshot. So let's actually go here. And I think this should be high enough. I think now that we're at 100 reputation, I don't know if he's going to give it immediately. He might. But now we should be able to actually get it. Alright. So we're here. Now we want to go here. Let's stop. Excellent. Oh, he followed us, our little friend. Unidentified entity is such a bro. Just doesn't want to make sure we don't feel alone out here. Thank you, unidentified entity. I appreciate that. I appreciate you. Alright, I've got to make sure to watch this so that I don't accidentally get the remnant crisis. Right, I got to make sure I abandon the colony before it hits that point. Actually, could I afford to abandon it right now? And I think I would still be at 60. Hey, hold on. What's the math on that? Because this adds up to 64. I'd still be at like 58. This is not adding much, to be honest, since it's capped at 60. I thought I was pulling a big brain move there, but I'm already past the point where that really matters, aren't I? Although, to be fair, when I did colonize, it was higher tier than Patrol HQ, so it mattered a bit more. You have any work for me? See, number 2, 480,000. Yeah, ain't no big thing. This is even worse. Surely you can give the bounty, can't you? You're a high-importance military contact. I mean, it's too bad I couldn't take both of the remnant bounties, because I'd rather do that than any of this. Yeah, I guess. We'll just keep doing this until you give me the bounty. We can play this game all day and all night. Give me the damn bounty. You better not withhold the bounty as revenge for some of the events of the story, alright? It's nothing personal. It's nothing personal. I was just trying to unlock the Yanis device. Okay? It's purely a practicality kind of thing. You understand me? You feel? You get me? Comprende? Am I speaking your language? Probably the sound of cash registers would be his language. Although I doubt they have cash registers in the future. Let's just sell all that. I'm not going to need it. Okay. Also, no. Wrong button. Yes, let's resign, so I can stop being at war with people. Select AI cores. You can have all of these. Excellent. So I lost that 10 points of reputation from resigning, and then immediately gain back those points by giving in a bunch of AI cores. Alright, so we've got triple S mods on all our combat ships. Now we're just going to go with elite skills. So 1, and that's 2, 3, and 4. And we'll hold on to that last point. All we've really got left is the 4 elite skills for these guys. And then once we're done with that, then we can put... then we can S-mod the built-in ECCM package on all of these. And then that's everything. The fleet is completely maxed out. Aside from having 5 spare deployment points that I'm not using. But that's like getting an unoff... I guess I could put a mercenary officer into a wolf. I'm not really super excited about that, though. Super excited, big fun time. Mercenary wolf. I could put the timid officer in the wolf, which with Phase Skimmer does kind of work. But the lack of systems expertise does not. Victims Vacation Resort. I'm pretty sure if I abandon this... Yeah, requires 50,000 credits in evacuation expenses. Shuttling down all operations will generate 0 credits for a net cost of 50,000. Yep. Shut it down. Yeah, we're still getting 58 a month. And this removes the risk of me forgetting to do that and then rolling up the Remnant Crisis, which I don't care for. Awesome. Let's go do this. Should be a gate. Yeah, there's a gate nearby. So let's go do that. Missed me. Missed me by a mile. Wasn't even close. You think you can touch me? Nah. Paul Bingus is too experienced. He knows your tricks. He knows the timing like the back of his hand. Paul Bingus would never make a mistake like getting caught during a transverse jump. He's too good. That's why he's still at large. In fact, he's so good that nobody even knows what he did. He's just got a reputation. Alright, let's go do this. Yeah, I can turn that off because that's not going to be important. All that's left is this, the bounty that I'm currently doing, and you, because you're going to give me the big one. Yes? Yes. Imagine this, because I've only done it once, and not only did I only do it once, the big old bounty. Not only have I only done it once, that was in a modded playthrough, where, to be fair, I had a lot less experience at the time, so I really didn't know how to deal with it. So my strategy was reduce the deployment points from 400 to 200, and pilot a Go, like the Gone super ship from Scalar Tech. And then I kind of had a couple frigates just constantly running around the map to distract the enemy while I killed the rest of their fleet with the Gone. So more or less I cheesed it using both game settings and mod ship. Yeah, good times. Good times. Although with a fleet like this, I think we can take it. We really should be able to. But since I'm only questioning it because I actually have very little experience with this particular bounty. We will find out. And hey, if I lose, then that'll just... You know what, if I lose, we'll just say that Paul Bingus died. That'll be it. It was the Bingus domain has to live on without him. Ruled by his son, the one that he was paying child support for at the beginning. Remember that? Yeah. His son will take over. He'll never be as great as his father could have been, though. He just ain't got that dog in him the same way that Paul does. Now, if you guys could just kindly show up. That would be excellent. Superb, even. I might even call that... I might even go as far as to call it good. I would go that far. I don't think superb or magnificent quite describes how great that would be. I would have to use a word as powerful as the word good. Yeah, I guess they're not hovering around the jump points, at least not yet. Still got 90 days. That's fine. This is fine. Do I have transphotonics? No, I don't. If I did, then I could just build a sensor array to help me find them. Unfortunately, that does not seem to be an option. Hey, there you are. Just wander around enough, eventually you'll find them. Yeah, I know you guys get all excited about capturing the points right away. But I'm going to have to restrain you. Because the utility of keeping the Paragon from getting flanked is actually quite high. Even though the Paragon can handle being flanked relatively well compared to other capital ships. That is true. But the AI still does get a little squirrely when something's behind, when it's got like enemies on multiple directions. Which is fair because, I mean, if you've been a player in that situation, it's like, yeah, you could shoot at every direction, sure. It doesn't mean you like it. Yeah, we'll give you a chance. Go ahead. Make my day. Show me what you're made of. You know, get over here. Alright, so we're just going to go around you. I am trying to avoid the Devastator because that could just eat the torpedoes. And the result is that the torpedoes just missed anyways. I mean, it'd be less embarrassing if they did get eaten by the Devastator, because then I could be like, well, what can I do? What can I do? You know, the Devastator's in the way. The fact that I just straight up missed, well, I mean, I can't blame that on the loadout, can I? Thanks for lining up the shot for me. It's a great use of your burn drive. I really appreciate it. Alright, now die. What you doing? Firing at max range? Classic move. Oh, with that damage boost. That was... wow. Okay. Thank you, Afflictor. Very appreciated. I see, so we're kind of doing this, are we? The Afflictor plus me has to take on all these incoming reinforcements. I mean, we can, so... might as well. Alright, yeah, let's... well, we've got their attention for sure. Let's just try not to die while we're at it. Wow, the AI is actually handling this. Okay. And this AI is flaming out and spiraling into the void. Yeah, nothing out of the usual here. Alright, let's strip this armor. There we go. Say goodnight. You have, no, that's right, I didn't get Elite Combat Endurance. I think after the buff, that it prepares all the way to 100% hull, has made it really good on Phase frigates. It's actually quite, gives them a lot better of a survival rate. But it's doing just fine as is, because we're just killing the enemies fast enough that it doesn't become an issue. Ooh, let's get out of here. Excellent, okay. Yeah, so all we're really looking at is the Guardians are still alive. But other than that, fleets are defeated. Yeah, I don't actually need to flank you. I just need you to turn around. That's that. I'm going to take the credit for that. Thank you very much. Where are you guys going? Because we're taking on the last one. I think that was actually a hit from that Reaper. That's pretty good. Alright, that's finished. And now we can take a... Alright, you died. Guess I should have retreated you. But that's fine. You know, actually, I do only have one phase ship, so phase anchor would be tempting to just completely avoid that. This phase anchor lets it dive into hyperspace instead of, or rather, it lets it retreat from the battle when it drops to 0 hull, so it actually survives. It's just that I don't really have the ordnance points for that. And anyways, adaptive phase coils is incompatible with phase anchor. And for an afflictor, you definitely want adaptive phase coils. So we'll just let it die sometimes. It is what it is. You did 9,000 hull. This guy managed to do 15,000 with his Reapers. 3 solid hits. Damn. Alright. I see you there. Alright, I see you. I mean, this guy did do 21,000 shield damage. He managed to hit 1 Reaper. That's more than 0. I'll give you that. That's more than 0. But 3? I mean, you only have 4 Reapers anyways. And you hit all of them on the hull and did a ton of damage. It's impressive. It's very good. Yeah, alright. I mean, that looks fine. You also got several Reaper hits. Ah, you know what? No wonder they're hitting all the Reapers. Right, it's because we're fighting derelicts. So yeah. If you plan on fighting derelicts, that's a good idea. Just stack up Reapers. Of course. You're fighting remnants, maybe try a different strategy. Although I don't really think they benefit too much from Sabos. It's something we're thinking about. Personally, I'd rather leave on the Reapers and then maybe swap the antimatter blasters for mini pulsers if I had a bunch of them, which I don't. Or at least I would want to experiment with that, because I've tried it once and didn't like it, but I haven't tried it thoroughly. It was a very short test. Alright. Give us the unique bounty this time. Just do that. Just do it. You know, Shia LaBeouf is screaming in your ear right now, my friend. Just do it. Right, wrong one. Okay. You. Do I have the story points for this? I do, in fact, have the story points for this. Yeah, let's do it. There we go. And now we've got that extra industry slot because now we have at a size 5 colony with an administrator with industrial planning. We have a core reducing demand down to 9, story point, the catalytic core, and an alpha core. All of that stacked together lets us meet the demand domestically. So now the Hypershunt tap is working. We can stop on mining, which will then make it impossible to disrupt. It'll be self-sustaining and self-sufficient. Won't that be nice? Okay, let's get over. Let's go see our very English friend, or at least that's the way I portray him. I think it's fitting. Of course he should be a bit snobby and posh. I mean, look at him. Look at it, read his dialogue. It simply makes sense. It's a matter of fact. This better be good. Remind me to take you shopping for a proper suit. I know a guy who can do wonders. I mean, like, come on. It's right there. This guy writes... He writes it all for me. Uh-huh. Nope. Mm-hmm. Man, these are lame. These are some lame options. Sensitive matter? No. Yeah, that's it. Darn. Guess you just gotta keep waiting. Yeah, I just keep doing these because that's the fastest way to cycle through the different bounty options. As far as I know. Actually, it'd probably be easier if I had, like, it's probably happen faster if I had another high importance military contact who could also potentially offer the bounty. That'd probably be really the best way to do it, but then I'd have to grind up 2. Yeah. Not gonna do that. And here, more AI cores for you. Don't you love that? I mean, really what I should be doing is giving these to other factions to up our reputation, which would then boost accessibility on the colonies. That would be probably the best use of them at this point, rather than the immediate injection of cash. Huh? It's at 461. Normally it tells you it. I guess sometimes it just works differently, because there was definitely one time where it said 425 was the threshold. Whatever. I think, no, it has to drop down to 425 to reset it, but it actually doesn't tell you what it is until 500. I think that's the way that it works. Just misremembering. Alright, we'll go do this bounty, we'll come back, then the crisis will be pulling up, and then, hopefully when we get back, we'll get the bounty we're looking for. So that's finished. You're building the mines. I mean, this place is just, what a beautiful stronghold. This place should grow very quickly. Whew. All right. Let's get over here. Let's take a slip and slide. Hi. Do you guys actually want to fight? Are you sure? I feel like this should be an auto-resolve, to be honest. We'll deploy everything except the Paragons. This is kind of a joke, really. This is a comedy battle, not a real battle. This is a skit. They're doing it for the meme, right? They're like, hey, wouldn't it be funny if we, like, record ourselves on the hypernet, picking, like, a stupid fight and getting, like, yeah, that would make for good content, bro. Uh-huh. I mean, you could also just die, but anything for the views, I guess. Wasn't there one prank YouTuber who actually got shot because they're doing, like, a prank where they're pretending to pull a gun? And then they just the guy just shot him because he actually had a gun. I think that happened. I'm pretty sure that's a real thing that happened one time. Which sounds pretty crazy, because it is. But then again, with like 8 billion people on the planet, and like the majority having internet access at this point, it's kind of bound to happen. Someone, with how crazy people are, somebody's bound to do something that stupid at some point. It's just kind of like a mathematical inevitability. Alright, good, good, excellent. Très bien, muy bien. Alright, that's an overload. Oh. Come on. Unfortunate. Unlucky. Let's see if I can get to... Yeah, you're way over here, actually. There you are. Yeah, the Medusa looks like it's in a little bit of trouble. Although those 360 shields are really saving it from the fighter swarm. You've only got high explosives. Uh-oh. And you're Squall is on cooldown, although these machine guns are probably going to do me in. Oh, and it accidentally shot down the Reaper too. That's not good for me. Let's just disengage. All right, let's get our shields up so that we don't get tailpiped. That would be nice. All right, I'm here. I want to get over to the. I'll go after the Eradicator. I think that's a. There's a lot of little guys. Let's take out one of you. That should take like 2 seconds. Yeah, I think if you time that, it's about 2 seconds. Let's remove you from the equation. There we go. Just ram them. Struggling to get that last bit of damage? Just ram them. Simple as that. Alright, so you picked a fight again. There we go. That's where we like to see. Take a little distance. There's an Eradicator at that capture point. Interesting. So we'll do... Why can't I... Oh, that's right. I've got to choose it. Keep forgetting, once you have it, you actually have to do a defend order rather than an assault order. There we go. I had to make sure I fired them both in a sequence because I knew one of them was getting shot down by point defense. That's a lot of machine guns. No, yeah, keep fighting me. I think you've got a chance. Ah, so close. I mean, I was really high on flux. You really almost got me there. I mean, that guy didn't even bother putting up his shields. He just gave up. He saw what was coming and said, yeah, let's not drag this out. Everybody say your goodbyes. We're going to bed forever. Alright, kill it. Kill this last. Yeah, there we go. Zoom. Boom. I like that. That was good. Let's let them go. I don't need to kill the last survivors. You guys can spread the word. Make sure everybody knows my name. So you can stop wasting my time. That would be ideal, wouldn't it? What are you? Just another random fleet that thinks they can fight me? Yup. You sure are. You sure are exactly that. Alright, we're going to roll up our next crises. So we're getting to the point where it might be worth... I guess it depends on whether or not I get the bounty that I'm looking for when I get back. Then, once I know whether or not I'm getting that, I'll decide whether or not to actually cut the episode and do another one. Because as much as I want to end it today, it doesn't look like we're quite there. You might end up having a little more time with Paul Bingus. That is not what I'm looking for. That's a completely different other thing. Okay, finished your stuff. That's very cool. That's very nice. Yeah, that's still 3 out of 4. Don't really think I need to change that. I think for a world like this, with just organics for mining, that it's actually worth it to stick with Luddic majority. I think that's the case. At least from a credits perspective, anyways. Alright, yeah, and you're just building that. Okay, we've just got to find this fleet. Then we're going to go back. Then we're going to see if we get the bounty. I also want to know, we roll up. It's going to be very soon. Yep, another pirate armada. 5%. Come on. Come on. Are you guys even trying out here? Throwing the fleets like this at me. I mean, you've seen what I'm capable of. Rayon. Why are you giving me jobs like this? Give this to your other lackeys. I'm too important for something like this. Yeah, let's try that. Let's try setting an assault order on that. Directly on their capture point. Maybe we can start, like, funneling them in right at their spawn. Doesn't look like it. Alright. Yeah, no, without the Paragons, we probably don't have the raw power to just force our way across the map. It's a lot of fighters. I'm just going to ignore them. Now, switch. There we go. Let's kill that. Let's get out of here before we overload. Yep. Now event. Switch over. It's an interesting fleet. Yeah, didn't even get a chance to use your damper field because now you're just overloaded. Bye-bye. What else we got? We got these two, we got that, those are their caps. They've got a heron. And that eradicator is probably worth something. Actually, the AI is already 1v1ing this, that's interesting. Let's see how it's doing. Pretty good by the looks of it. Yeah, there we go. Alright. Heron looks like it's sending double Cobra right at me. Dodge that. Or at least dodge the Kopeshes. I just, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, why don't we go kill that? So that we don't have to worry about that anymore. Yeah, that was a good idea. Oh, you got a frontal shield. Now that is... I don't know if that's wise. I really think you should reconsider putting frontal shield conversion on one of those. I would strongly advise you reconsider. Ah yes, the best kind of teamwork. Teamwork with myself. So those guys are going to kill that eradicator up there. We'll probably drop all of that. This thing is apparently heavily damaged, but just leaving. Alright, well why don't we make sure it just doesn't make it. Alright, I said teamwork with myself, not with... I didn't mean for you to leave. Now, I actually kind of want you to stay here. There we go. Excellent. You can vent. You can get in there. Yeah, I mean, this looks good. There's just a bunch of junk left. Oh, using Ceresis, are you? That's a new one. Alright, let's see if we can clean these up. Oh. Oops. That's not ideal. Yeah, just keep your shield up, kid. You'll be fine. That's all that's left is that. Perfect. And you can just retreat so that you don't accidentally die at the last second. There we go. Cleaned up. We'll just let him go. It doesn't matter. We don't need the extra resources. We already got our cash. Alright. What are we getting? We're getting Tri-Tac. Look, there we go. Is allocating funds to hire and equip a mercenary company to raid and disrupt your industrial base. I mean, they're already doing that. I don't know if officially starting the crisis doesn't really change much about it. Or, well, maybe it will. I actually don't. I guess I shouldn't say that. They're just already doing that. If the mercenary attack is defeated, it will go a long way towards convincing Tritachyon Corporation to abandon its anti-competitive efforts. Yeah, so you can do this by, like, bombing their planets and stuff and raiding them. But, of course, I would rather just fight the fleets. Get to the same result in the end, but one of those is, well, fighting some specialized mercenary fleets could be fun, couldn't it? Alright, so, the moment of truth. Oh, I forgot to do the slingshot. Oh, well. I guess that just builds suspense, doesn't it? The moment of truth. Do we get the bounty? I'm shaking in my boots. I am trembling in my trousers. What is going to happen when I get there? Anything could happen. It could be, or it could not be. Oh, it doesn't even have a bounty option. Okay, well, I mean, that's your answer. It doesn't even have a bounty option right now. What ain't doing nothing. Alright, well, I think now is a pretty good time to end it. We will unfortunately have to finish off everything next time. Well, I say that, but once again, I got through one crisis. The next one's just now spawning. And after this one, I've got 2 more. So it might end up being like 3 episodes for all I know. I'm not exactly sure what the timing's going to work out to. It does depend on how high or low the crisis meter resets each time. It does depend on whether or not we get this bounty. So, could be 1, could be 2. But either way, we're getting very close to the end. So yeah, that's about it. See ya.